Hi there, this is Unmesh from PiXimperfect. How you guys doing? I hope you're having a great day and making it an awesome one. Today, we're going to be talking about some actions. First of all, thank you so very much for tuning into this video. Usually, when we talk about fancy actions on the internet, they usually have a bad reputation of only working with images that they're advertised with. When we try to apply them on our own images, it doesn't quite create that level of a result. Recently, I came across an action which claims to turn your photos into sketches like the famous Leonardo da Vinci used to do. I was curious, so we had to check it out. So today we're gonna test whether it can really turn your photos to look as if it's straight out of Renaissance or not. Also, we'll look at what steps we can take when actions like these in general don't seem to work. And trust me, asking for a refund is not one of them because it rarely happens. So we'll look at how much we can customize it, whether we can color it or not, how good this action is. I'm super excited to check it out with you. So without any further ado, let's get started. Back in the brilliant world of Photoshop, and first of all, let's load up the action. So I downloaded this action from Envato Elements. It has always been one of my favorite platforms for creative assets because if you look at the last PiXimperfect tutorials over the last 2 years, most of the videos have used stock photos or effects from Envato Elements. And yes, I paid for it out of my own pocket. I truly recommend checking it out because you get unlimited downloads of millions of assets like Photoshop actions, plugins, presets, brushes, even layer styles, 3D models, stock photos, stock videos, fonts, motion graphics, sound effects, the list just goes on. And the best part is you can download whatever you want, as much as you want, and you do not have to pay for each and every one of them. I think right now there's a 50% discount going on for annual memberships. I'm not sure. If there is, I'll update the links in the description. I personally highly recommend it. Let's learn how to install the action and do some initial setups. So once you extract it, you will have this folder, Vinci Sketch Photoshop action. Let's open that. Inside of that, you will have one action file. ATN file is an action file. Now to install it, it's very easy. Make sure you have opened the latest version of Photoshop. And then if you just simply double click on it, the action is installed. If you open up the actions tab right there, actions panel, you have it installed. Other way is you can simply click on the grid right there and click on load actions and then locate it and install it. That's a long way of doing things. This action comes with some brushes and also some patterns. Now it has the pattern file right there, but for brushes ABR, which is the brush file extension, we have two of these. One for CC and above, which is Photoshop CC and later versions, and CS6 and below, previous versions before CS6 and CS6. Alright, so we are using the latest version, so we're just going to install this. Just double click on it, or you can just import the brushes or load the brushes and go the long route. Once you double click on it, it's automatically installed. If you select the brush tool, click on the drop down right there, we have these brushes right here. Now I have two of these because I already had it installed. So let me just go ahead and delete this one. Just right click on it and choose delete group, hit OK. Everything inside it will be wiped out. Patterns we have to install, just simply double click on it, and it is installed as well. Now let's load up our very first image and check if it works as good as advertised. So here we have our first example. I absolutely love motorcycles and motorcycling, and this is a beautiful one. By the way, guys, please do not fight between motorcycle brands. Please don't start the Windows versus Mac PC in the motorcycling world if you're a biker. That's not really a good practice. Don't do Harley versus Triumph or Kawasaki versus Honda. Every bike is special and beautiful in its own way. So let's play the action now. To play the action, you have to make sure a couple things are in place. Some housekeeping in there. First of all, make sure your image is RGB and 8-bit, which it already is. If it isn't, change it to RGB and 8-bit. Second thing we need to do is to come to the layers panel and click on the grid and go to panel options. Inside of that, just check you have checked add copy to copied layers and groups. Make sure this is checked and hit OK. Now we are ready to play the action. Now for the action to work, we need to make a selection of the subject, or in this case, it's the bike, and then place a filled layer of it on a new layer. How can we do that? Well, first of all, let's make a selection of the bike. Now this is not a masking class. I've already made a selection. You can use the quick selection tool right here, but I would highly recommend using the pen tool to have precise selections. Now this will do the job, but then again, pen tool is always the best. It's gonna take a little while, but it's the best. So I have a selection. Look how perfect this selection is. All right. If you want to learn how to use the pen tool, please do watch this master guide. Alright, let's come back to the layers panel. Once you have the selection in place, create a brand new layer at the top and fill it with whatever color you wish. Right now the foreground color is black. You can also fill it with red, whatever color you wish. It doesn't really matter. Press Alt Backspace or Option Delete on a Mac to fill it and press Ctrl or Command D. Alright, now let's name this layer Subject, small caps, for this action to work. It's created in such a way that it will select the subject named layer and the background layer and go from there. Also make sure you have this background layer. If this is not a background layer or just a regular layer, just select that and go to Layer, New, Background from Layer, right there, so that it becomes a background layer. If it not already is, make sure it's a background layer and locked. Alright, now we are ready to play the action. Let's go to Window, Actions, and all we have to do is to play Vinci Sketch Photoshop action. Let's play it. Wow, look at how wonderful the sketch is. Now it's giving you a message to select a background paper for this. So all you got to do is to click on Continue, and then inside that folder, it has some paper textures, so we can open that. It already comes with a lot of textures, so we can select one of these. Like, let's go for this one. Click on Place, and it's gonna place it right there. And let us adjust it. Adjust it the way you like it. There's no right or wrong way. Hit Enter, and it will continue the action from right here. And as you can see, this is brilliant. Truly, this is absolute brilliant. I already am loving this. Now let's look at how can we customize this. What are the things we can do in this case? As you can see, there are some writings and diagrams all over the bike as well. We want it to be in different places. We want some depth in the outlining. We want to make some changes. Can we really make it? Let's check it out. First of all, let's start with outlines. We want some areas like these to have stronger outlines. How can we do that? Well, if you just go down in here, you will have some elements, script elements, geometrical shapes, hatching elements, outline elements. Have a look right there. So you can open it and just look at different outline elements. Instead of doing that, well, what I suggest doing is just make a copy of it. Press Ctrl or Command J. Now we have double the outline, but it's too much and we don't want it everywhere else. So select the mask of the copy and then press Ctrl or Command I to invert it. Now you can take a brush, white as the foreground color, choose a soft round brush right over there. Let's make the brush a little larger and just paint on the areas where you want a little more detail, like this. You have a little more outline there, a little more outline here. We want a little more details in the exhaust, more definition here. So wherever you want a little more definition, you can just paint on that area to have it there. As easy as that. If you want more outline details, well, you can just make one more copy of this. Alright, so if you make one more copy, those areas you will see have more details, but I'm not liking it. So let's select it all by pressing Ctrl or Command A. Make sure the mask is selected. Foreground color as black, Alt Backspace to fill it with black again. Select the mask and then fill the inside with white to have more details in some of the areas. If you want more details in the lights, you can paint on and right there. Alright, now the other thing that might be disturbing us if you look right here is the handwriting, is the text right there. It's all haphazardly placed. So how can we adjust it? How can we also adjust the geometrical shapes? Well, first of all, let's turn off all of these. So let's turn off the script elements. So all the scripts are turned off. You can also turn off the geometrical elements. To first of all, let's just inspect the sketch and move from there. Right now I'm feeling, what if I wanted a little color on this? Because if you zoom it out, the tank is very light. If we had a little more color on this, I understand this is a Vinci Sketch and every sketching element, it's looking so genuine. But what if we wanted a little color on this? Well, you can make a copy of the background layer and just choose the blend mode color, or I think this action already has a feature to do that. Well, let's look at it. Here you have additional default adjustments and here you have a color overlay. If I turn it on, have a look. You get the color. Isn't that crazy amazing? Right? You can always just decrease the opacity of it if you wish. You can always change how the colors are. So Click on the adjustment layer icon and choose hue saturation and limit it just to that by clicking on this button, create a clipping mask, and then you can control the saturation. You can just decrease or increase the saturation according to your wish. We're going to keep it at 0, but I feel that this color right here needs to be darkened a little bit. So select the hand, just click on that area. Cyans automatically shows up. Expand the range a little bit, and then all we have to do is to darken it. So decrease the lightness, it'll darken that. Have a look. The rest, everything is fine. So I'm just going to darken it a little more. Let's go to the master and then increase the overall saturation. Let's keep it at about 15. And there you have the color version of it. Isn't that wonderful? Now, since we are trying to replicate Leonardo, let's turn it off for the moment. This is a styling. If you want it, you can have it later. Now let's add the science, the mathematics that really make it Da Vinci-ish. So let's go down and turn on, first of all, the geometrical elements. So let's open up the group, select the first one, press Ctrl or Command T, and then you can adjust it to place it wherever you want. Let's go with the second one, press Ctrl or Command T. We need some space for the text as well. Let's go with the next one, and it's on the bike, so we have to move it off the bike. So let's place it right there. Let's move on to the next one. You can also make it bigger or smaller if you wish to. So let's make it a tad bit bigger. Just keep on selecting the elements and moving them to the places you wish them to be at. Also, there's one more element. Have a look. There's this circle. We want to move it, but we don't want to move the mask that it comes with. So unlink the mask and then adjust the circle accordingly. I'm going to move it in the center of the bike, and then from there we can make the circle a little larger. And now let's do the text or the script elements. Let's turn it on. Let's do one by one. So let's select the first one right here, press Ctrl or Command T. Let's place it right there so that we can see what's up there and make it a little larger. Here we have some more text over the tire. It's not really visible, so we can place it somewhere else or just erase it. Let's turn it off. You don't really have to place each and every one of them. And I'm going to move the geometrical shape behind it a little up. You also have all of the hatching elements, so you can individually control how much of each one of these do you want. You can control the opacities of them or erase certain ones from certain areas. Now on top of that, you have some pen colors that you can choose. So this is the default color. You can also go with something else. You can go with a different pen color here. So there are lots of pen colors that you can choose from, and it controls the color of even the text and the geometrical objects right there. So it does give you a lot of customizable options, and any good action should be customizable. Let's go with the very first one. This was pretty good. On top of that, we have the paper texture, which we can adjust it later if we wish to. We can also add more or something else if we want to. So let's make it a little larger and adjust it according to our wish. And sometimes on images like these, you would want to do color grading, like adding curves, levels. So there are some overall adjustments right there. There's overall curves, overall levels. If there's curves, why do you need to add levels? But the author has given us that option. All these adjustments by default are at neutral positions. What's really interesting here is the color effects. So if you want to add a gradient map, all of these are gradient map that adds a particular effect to your photo. You can just choose one of these. So you can try and see which one works the best for you. Or if you want to stay with the original, that's good too. This is a good gradient for a sketch on a white paper. I loved it. The action happened to work just perfectly. But what about situations when the actions just don't work or the results are something that you don't like? What we can do to make it better? Let's look at example number 2. Now here we have a darker motorcycle. Now there's a lot of things going on in here and a lot of reflection. Let's see if our action works. Now I've already made the subject layer, so let's turn that on. And now let's try to play this action. Let's play it. Let's choose a background. So in this case, we're going to go with this one. Let's place it. Let's adjust it, make it a little larger, hit enter or return. This will continue the action. Now I really like how it has sketched it, but there are some shortcomings. First of all, let's turn off the script elements and also the geometrical elements. We can always adjust that later. That's not very important. If you look at the sketch right there, there's a lot of things going on in here and the details are not as much. Secondly, These areas are just too dark and it's not looking like a realistic sketch. Also, if you look at this area, it is just too dark. Now keep in mind, this is a sketch, not a photograph. It is meant to be a little flat. So there are two things we need to do. We need to brighten this area and also we need to have some more details. Let's talk about brightening. If we try to brighten it right now, it's not gonna work. It's not gonna bring in the details. We need to do it beforehand. So one of the great things about this action that I like is that it still keeps in the subject and also the background layer. So all we have to do is to just delete this group, Da Vinci style sketch, delete it, and it's gone. Well organized as well. Let's brighten this area. It's very simple to do. Create what? A curves adjustment layer? What else did you think? Well, it's a PiXimperfect tutorial. Just brighten it up a little bit. Select the mask, press Ctrl or Command I. Take a soft round brush like this and start painting on these areas with the foreground color white. Just brighten these areas. You don't have to just over brighten areas which are already too bright. Take the time to brighten the dark areas. Now to save time, I've already done it. So this is my mask right there. So here's the before, here is the after. See this underbelly that we have brightened, also these areas that we have brightened. All right, on top of that, we have our subject. So let's turn it on. Also, we need to merge both of these. So select the curves adjustment layer, hold the Ctrl or Command, select the background layer, and then press Ctrl or Command E. Make sure it's a background layer which is locked. If it's not, you can always go to Layer, New Background from Layer. Click on that so that it will be so. Now, let's try to play the action. Still, I think there would be some things missing. Now have a look. The details on it, it is so much better than before. Have a look at this area. It's so much more detailed, this area as well. So much better. Now the text and the geometrical objects, we can arrange that later. You can also turn that off. Script elements and the geometrical elements. But still, we want a little more detail in this area. If you're happy with this, you can stop here. But what if you want more details? What can we do? Well, with actions like these, to get more details, we need to increase the resolution because this action is using a particular size of brush, right? So if we increase the resolution, we will have more details. And if there are areas where you want less details or rough sketching, you can decrease the resolution and then combine those images together. Make sense? No? Let me show it to you. So let's say in the engine area, you want more details. So here's what you do. You make a duplicate of this. So select the background layer, hold the Ctrl or Command, select the subject layer, right click on it and then choose duplicate layers. In the document drop down, choose new and hit OK. Now you have a duplicate of it. All you have to do is to go to image, image size, and then let's increase the width to 8000 right here. Resampling, you can just set it to automatic, hit OK, and then play the action here as well. So let's turn the subject on and play the action, just as you did before. As you can see, the text and the geometric elements are becoming smaller because the resolution is too high. You can adjust them later. Right now, make sure you choose the same background. As you can see here, my friend, we have a lot more details. Have a look at the engine area. So much more details. Look at this one. Not much detail. But we like in this image that there's more hatching. There's less details in certain areas which make it more realistic. Have a look at the light area. I love the less detailed areas, but not in the engine area. So how do we combine both of these two? Well, you already might have guessed it. On the high resolution image, select the topmost layer, create a new layer on top of it, press Ctrl, Alt, Shift and E. This will create a stamp visible layer or a merged layer of everything that you see right here. You can copy this layer by pressing Ctrl or Command C. And then come to this image and at the top, you can just paste it. Press Ctrl or Command V. Now this is pasted. Now we want to match the size. How do we do that? Press Ctrl or Command T and set the size to the same. This one is 5803 pixels wide. So we can just set the width to 5803 px. Units is important. Hit enter and then just simply center it. That's all we have to do. Now we want details in certain areas. So you can create a negative mask by holding the Alt key or the Option key, click on the mask button. Now take the brush and just paint with white on the areas where you want the detail. So I'm going to choose a soft round brush, just paint on that area where you want more detail. That's it. If you want more detail in the light areas, you can have it, but I like the previous texture there. So any area where you want a little more detail, just paint, maybe in the exhausts right here. If there's some intricate machinery like this, you want more details on this, you can paint on in here. Disc brakes at the back, more details needed, so you can paint on in there. Now for better results, I would have recommended that you turned off the script and the geometric elements before copying this over, but that's fine. We got what we wanted, and there you have it. A brilliant Leonardo da Vinci sketch. You can add the text element and the geometric elements later. If you ask me personally, I really think it's a good action, because the first and the foremost quality of a good action is customizability. And this action gives you that. You can customize the color. You can add color later if you wish to on a black and white sketch. You can change the background to whatever you wish. It comes with lots of backgrounds that you can choose from. You can just customize how the pencil is sketched. You can just erase it in certain areas. You can have more details. Really, there's so much customizability. The second thing that I like is that it does its job perfectly. It also gives you all the scripts and geometric elements that you can just adjust it according to your wish. For the cons, actually, I'm drawing a blank to be honest, because this is a good action, right? And if I were to nitpick, which is totally not justifiable, if we were to nitpick, well, if there was a way to just adjust how fine sketch we want in certain areas, that would be fantastic. In that case, we won't have to create another image with a higher resolution and combine it with it. But even I don't know an easy way to just add that to an action. This is already so good. If you're interested in the action, I've put direct links to the action in the description. Also, if you're an Envato Elements member, you don't have to pay anything extra for this. This is included with your membership, along with thousands of other actions and presets and lots of millions of different things. If you have any interesting Photoshop panels, plugins, or presets that you want me to talk about, please let me know in the comments. I'll buy it or get a trial version and review it for you. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, make sure to give us a like, and also don't forget to subscribe, and not just subscribe. Ring the bell so that you don't miss any other future tips, tricks, or tutorials. I'll see you in my next one. Till then, stay tuned and make sure that you keep creating.